Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. Texas football has officially kicked off the 2023 fall camp, right around 31 days away from kickoff here on August 2nd as I'm recording. We'll be going live with the SEC Connect gang tonight, but wanted to make a quick video just regarding some thoughts, right? And outlook heading into the season because I'm going to be very blunt here. Texas needs to win the Big 12 this season. I know a lot of us have been throwing around our predictions, win loss records. Can Texas have the consistency to get to 10 wins? Can Steve Sarkisian and this group get to Arlington and accomplish all these things? Has Steve Sark done his media kind of car wash heading into camp? And he made several appearances all over the place. Shout out to Bobby Burton on Three Gang. He was on there. He was on Greenlight with Chris Long. And on several of these programs, I know this for a fact on Greenlight, he talked about being at Texas and being imperative to win championships. We're leaving this conference this year. And while I think if you look back at Texas' entire time in the Big 12, safe to say they've underperformed, especially the last 13 years. There's no doubt about that. But you can end your reign here on such a strong, dominant note with all of the good work that has been put in behind the scenes, this culture, building this roster, building on top of some things that needed to be tweaked, some things that needed to be outright fixed. And when we start to deep dive and you hear even the most skeptical people of Texas year in, year out, they're still coming in around 9 wins, eight. Nobody's even, I haven't even heard eight, but you're hearing the most skeptical people say, well, 9-3, right? Or I think a lot of us fall in that 10-2. I've heard some people as high as 11-1, right? And so the reason why I say that, and when you look at this roster and how this team has been constructed, the expectation, according to the coach, should be championships, right? And so starting with the Big 12, heading into the SEC, no better note to leave this conference, all the shit talking that's gone on with these other teams, with the commissioner of the conference, what, right? And finally, people are saying it in this program of embracing the hate. I've been on YouTube as long as anybody in the Texas space, and y'all have heard me say that for years. And so finally, they actually are at saying it, but we need them to develop that mentality behind closed doors in these practices as they get ready for this season. They're going to be the most hated team, them and OU, right? But going into these Big 12 atmospheres, that's great preparation for what you're going to be facing down the road, but also understanding to capitalize on what you do have right now. College football isn't one of those sports where you just keep building boom, 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 boom. You're going to have years where you have loaded teams versus others where you're trying to kind of replace a lot of talent and things of that sort. Unless you're Georgia or Alabama, which hopefully we can get to one day with truly reloading year over year, which is where Texas definitely wants to be. With that being said, this was always kind of lauded as the year. Sark in year three, the way they've recruited these quarterbacks, especially Quinn Ewers, who's now had time. I've talked about taking ownership of the offense. I think we've heard those things behind the scenes, whether it's Quinn, whether it's Sark, what have you. The depth being there on the offensive and defensive lines. Now getting there with the weapons and the skill, having the experience on the back end defensively with communication and guys that can actually play the ball, guys that can run, hit, blitz, what have you. What are we missing here? What are we missing here? Where are the missing components for Texas? There's questions, but I don't see us having any of the same questions that we had all offseason when we were making videos about quarterback battle and replacing Isaiah Nayor after the injury. We've had the blessing today to have a practice today where, as they reported, nobody was in a green jersey. You have the blessing of being one of the healthiest teams in college football. You have one of the most experienced teams in the Big 12. Win the conference. Win the conference. I like there's the more I look at this and the more I start to analyze this team, the roster is there. The team is there. I know there's pressure on Quinn Ewers to deliver as starting quarterback. I know there's pressure on PK and this defense to repeat and grow and ascend from what they did last year. Totally aware of that. But I mean, let's take a look at even just some raw numbers from last year, right? When we look at just by quarter, right? These are just the rawest numbers you can get. They were beating people's ass in the first half last season. Just being blunt. And you see, obviously, you see the drop off in our offense on the other side. Defensively, they actually were okay in the third quarter, and then the fourth quarter, you see where our opponent was better than us last year in the most important quarter of the game, and that's finishing. Right now, I'm very pleased that Sark came out and said, I think it was on Bobby Burton's program, "Hey, first thing out of his mouth in terms of working off of fall camp is situational football." First thing he said. How do we maximize certain opportunities, whether it's red area, whether it's 2-minute drill, whether it's third and fourth down, critical spots of the field, whether it's forcing teams to get backed up, being sound in terms of penalties, things of that sort, not beating ourselves, all those things he stated. That goes into consistency that we're going to need to see throughout this season. They need to win this conference. I'm sick and tired of seeing teams that are picked sixth, seventh, and eighth in the Big 12 to go and end up in Arlington and having a chance to win this conference. I want to see Steve Sarkisian. I want to see this group live up to their expectations. Sark is saying all the right things. I love the fact that he said he wants to have 8 to 10 NFL draftees per year. I love the fact that his head is there in terms of a player, developing the player, getting them to where they want to go. Those are all great things. And if we're winning and doing what we need to do at the highest level, we'll advance and get there. Win the conference. Win the Big 12. I don't want to hear any more excuses. I don't want to that if we don't win the conference this year, it's underperformance in my opinion. There's certain players you can't, in my opinion, you can't lose or you can't go a sustained period of time without it impacting what the expectations are in terms of win loss on the season and what you can accomplish. Totally see that there, whether it's the quarterback, whether it's your top tier, top guys like the Jalen Ray or a Kelvin Banks or Xavier Worthy, your best guys that are amongst the best at their positions in all of college football. That is justified. But if we do have some short-term injuries or some guys get banged up, you even have the depth there to play whatever type of style of football you want to play, especially if that interior offensive line gets up to speed. Kyle Flood was up there and said he has 8 guys that could start. 8. Win the conference. We're over here debating about these lagging about starting quarterback and people getting reps and all this type of stuff. Like that was the debate last year. Right now, we're talking about which one of these super talented guys is going to start in the secondary opposite of Ryan Watts. That's a totally different conversation. You're telling me I'm not talking about between Gavin Holmes and people like Terrence Brooks and Malik Muhammad. That's a totally different conversation. I'm in a much better place. We're talking about Jalen Catalon's practicing and healthy, potential first team All American safety. If he's all the way right next to a veteran Bug Top, what are we talking about? Win the conference. What are we talking about? I'm gonna say something that's not a lot of people not gonna like. If you gave this same roster to Lincoln Riley when he was in the Big 12, no doubt about this thing. Even when he had like Spencer Rattler the first year in like 2020, and they still got off to a slow start and they still won the conference. Win the conference with this roster start. Get these haters off your back. Go into the SEC because then once that happens, and if he proves to be the quarterback guru and developer that I know he has been, but we have to see it at Texas, and I think we will. Once he proves those things, what do you really have on Sark at that point? 'Cause as a coach, to me, he's the total package everywhere else. It's just I need the most important thing. Is my coach good at winning? Can he win? Can we put that consistency together week over week and pull games out and not underperform and not dip down to teams or if we do come out flat, we come out strong as hell and we whoop ass in the second half and we win the game, win the conference. Make the quarterback all world like Lincoln does every single year. That's what I expect from Sark. And we should not expect anything less. I know we want to win 10 games, win the conference, win the Big 12, and put that up when you accept that trophy at the rest of these guys as we move on to greener pastures in the SEC. That's my message for today. Catch us on SEC Connect. Hit us in the comments, like, share, subscribe the whole bit. Horns always up.